Everton Reality Weekes is in the house.
It's good to be here and good to see you back and filling up the airways with the good vibes, man.
Well, I'm just doing my little thing, man. Doing my little thing. You know how we normally roll, man. Even back in the time when you were actively participating in Calypso and everything. You know how we normally roll.
Yes, I know how you usually roll. You're a man. You one thing I like about you is that you know what you love. You do know what you love and you stick to what you love.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. And radio is what I love. So, Eddie Prinzy Duberry, the maestro, you're in the house, man. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home.
Back, man. Nice to be back always.
So, as I said, we were going to be talking about a couple of things. Calypso, the state of Calypso now, where Calypso was before and where Calypso is today. And what about the trends that the Calypsonians are following and everything? Reality, as a former king, start out with me. Give me your feelings on Calypso right now. Calypso present compare with Calypso past.
Well, my belief is that right now, Calypso generally in the Caribbean is suffering from, various things that has occurred, right? You know that the roots of Calypso has always been important. And because of, you have modern inventions, you have new trends of recording, you have young people who feel alienated from Calypso because lots of the younger folks do have their own ideas, and I think that because of the structure of Calypso, some of them feel like Calypso is not for them because they feel left out. Do you understand where I'm coming from? I think that the people who are working with Calypso has to find a way to let's take it back to the roots and let's include the youths. Let's go into the schools and so and make Calypso be part of what we do. Our culture be part of what we do.
So Calypso, in essence, should be part of the educational curriculum.
It should be part of everything that we do because it is our culture. That is something, and especially Montserrat, that's one of the things that lifted Montserrat to the highest of high. And it should never be ignored what it has done. I remember even before Arrow, I don't know if you remember Ivan Brown.
Of course I do.
Right. And
look at my head. My head is white.
He was a very impactful person.
I'm old man now.
No, he was very impactful worldwide with what he did. You understand what I'm saying?
He didn't only do Calypso. He did soul, he did a bit of jazz, he did reggae. Ivan was a total musician,
entertainer,
right?
Yeah. And he's the one. The first time probably heard of Calypso was when he came to the school and sang to us. And his famous tick, tick, tick. Anybody who grew up in my time, that was the biggest song.
But the thing is, you heard him first. He made an impression.
Right.
A lasting impression on you. Because that impression, it morphed you into what? You became, how many times you won the Calypso crown in Montserrat?
5 times.
5 times. And you came first runner-up as well.
Yes.
You've been in the competition for years. As a matter of fact, before you won the police Calypso competition, maybe several times.
No, well,
and then you won
when I started with the police, what we did, we formed. We formed a choir, and we used to enter competitions as a choir, but it wasn't me by myself.
Okay.
And we did end up winning the championship. It was a Caribbean thing.
But anybody who know Everton Reality Weekes, King Reality, will know that this is a man who have won the Calypso crown in Montserrat. And not only won the crown, this is a man, when you talk about Calypso in Montserrat, his name must be on that paper. Because he's one of the greatest ever from out of Montserrat in the art form of Calypso. So because you heard the first Calypso from, like, as you said, Ivan Brown,
right,
it fostered you into a great Calypsonian.
Well, yes. You put it in a nutshell there, but I would like to open it a little more. Because I always say that when I was growing up, the whole atmosphere was conducive to music and writing. It's like everybody in the village was a musician. In my house, growing up, I was the least of the musicians and the writers. Inside my house, my brother organizer was writing before me. So when he was writing songs and out there, I didn't start writing songs yet. I remember when radio, God rest his soul, started to tell me, why don't you let us write come on. And he encouraged me to come into Calypso, you know, and he actually helped me to write my first, you know, in school, you know. I never did it again. After that, I stayed away from Calypso until I was in Barbados, you know, to be a policeman, and then I just got back. The festival and radio was singing, and I'm listening, and, you know, I'm going to root for him because, you know,
he's the one who inspired you first.
Right, and then I was rooting for radio, and, you know, as usual, those days, nobody from country could get anywhere in the Calypso, so, of course, they didn't get anywhere. And then, the next year, I think I was listening to Shard Shot in Antigua, and when me listened to how wonderful he sounded, I said, I'm going to try write some Calypso, you know. And I was just messing around, you know. I didn't know that I could write Calypso. I was just messing around, and I came up with the song, Woman Come to Jam. You know. And Arrow had won the crown the year before in Montserrat, so I wrote a song on Arrow. But people think I wrote that song on Cutter, but I actually wrote it on Arrow. I just switched the name and put in Cutter when I was singing the song, but that song was written on Arrow, you know. And then, you know, I was just fooling around because I never had aspirations of winning any crown. But because of the atmosphere that I grew up in, I was absorbing all of the good things around me. St. John's, if you grew up in St. John's, string band music,
masquerade
music.
St. John's has a legendary masquerade.
Yes, and the writers. There was a writer in Montserrat. I don't. Prince probably too young to remember him, and they used to call him Peter Ploko.
I'm not even familiar with him.
Every festival, he would write a new song and come down. And I remember one time he mashed up the place. You know what we call mash up the place, because everybody coming with their song. And he came down with a song. When you hear the bugle blow, show them your panty. Pop, 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 pop. When you hear the bugle blow.
And that was a big one then.
That was a big road mass that year.
Okay.
You know, so it was a really fun time to grow up.
But he had a community spirit because the community was part of it. We're not seeing that now.
No, we are not.
Why do you think so?
Because, like I said, when I was young, I had many musicians to look up to. There was a lot of people ahead of you that was doing it.
But could it be because of the composition of our society now?
Well, yes. The older people of today are nothing like the older people of yesterday. Because I remember when I started to play in a string band first, that string band was made up of older people. You had Blind Brothers. You had Hensy Fenton. You remember Hensy? Right, and those guys they were the big string band. They were the champion musicians. Nobody could touch them. But what happened, I think they had a falling out with the whatever, and the Harris. He took his kids, and me and my brother, we were cheering. So he went that way, so we were supposed to be playing against these superstars, seasoned musicians, and lo and behold, we held our own with them, you know, kids.
So you had this community feeling about the whole thing as well, and the community participation as well into the whole thing.
and not. But what I'm saying is also looking up. Because we looked up on those that was ahead of us with respect, we learned from them.
Prince, let me turn to you now.
Yes, absolutely.
The same question. The same question. You have seen in our tender age, we have seen how Calypso was. I remember when I was growing up, and I used to kind of like wait for Ara to release a song in 747 Disco. And that was a big moment. We couldn't go to the release, but at least we would hear it on the radio the following morning.
The same for all of us.
The following morning.
Yes.
And then we would have heard people like even Reality, we hear people like Falcon, we hear people like Black Prince, we hear these guys, Fisher for instance, used to come, and the competition was fierce. But they had this thing, Ruler. They had this thing about it that it would have been authentic, hardcore, proper Calypso. I have noticed that even when I listen to the Eliminations Gone, that is not the feeling. Because at one point, the standard had remained, and the standard was very, very high. I feel that for some reason, the standard has gone down a bit this year, especially in the Eliminations. Could there be any reason for that?
There's several reasons, and it's funny because anytime Reality and I get on the phone, we have discussions for hours about Calypso. And some of the things that he just said, I agree with him on some of them. I think one of the things which he has, which Reality has failed to mention, back then, most of those guys were writers. You understand? They were more singer-songwriters. So a lot of them penned their own,
Pen their own songs.
Competition pieces and so
are
forth.
Are you saying that if somebody penned their own song, they can articulate that better?
Absolutely.
Better than if somebody writes for them?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm saying now that...
But that's not to take away from, somebody who's able to
sing. Because
sing,
I know that, for instance, yourself, I've gotten songs that you've written.
And you've delivered them pretty well.
Yeah. Short Shirt have gotten songs that he have delivered. He have given someone, or somebody have given him, and he have delivered them properly.
But based on your question, I think that is one of the things which has changed Calypso to some degree.
So you think that writing itself, Prince, should be encouraged? So
absolutely,
Calypsonians
absolutely.
So I'm talking now for the powers that be, the Ministry of Culture and everybody. In order for us to continue the development of our culture, which Calypso is an integral part of our culture.
Right.
We need to have Calypso writing workshops where people who want to be active in Calypso should be able to pen their own songs. It is not just your intelligence. You could have a doctorate in this or a master's in that. Writing a Calypso is not with your doctorate and your master's. It's a master's itself that you need to write a Calypso. You need your own vibe.
I give you a joke. I mean, I grew up with the best of both worlds. And, this was one of my teachers. Reality was one of my teachers growing up, whether he knows it or not. Because St. John Church Wall was where most of these guys used to come to hear their new pieces. That they were intending to go into the competition with. And, as a young man going up in St. John, especially on a Friday night, you were able to kind of stand up and take in what these guys were doing. You had guitarists like Herman Harris.
I don't want to cut in, but you said something there that is, you said something there, Prince, that is so profound that you should let all these Calypsonians out there hear what you just said. The Calypsonians would come and hear their pieces that they're going to sing. So what I'm saying, radio would be, this is what it's going, and I would go to radio, this is what I'm going to sing.
Right.
So even though that we were, even though that we were competing against each other, what made us strong was that we had a kind of knowledge that each one can help one.
Absolutely.
So I would go to radio and say, radio, this is my song, what you think, boy? And he may compete against, And radio would honestly say, boy, radio always used to tell me, me love your song name, but you always want to go the simple way.
That's what he says.
That's what he would tell me, because radio would refuse to go the simple way. He liked to be creative in, that's radio.
Talking about radio, that for the Salem, talking about radio, for the Salem reunion, for the Salem Day show that we're having on Saturday, it's actually tribute to Justin Hero Castle, who has passed, and radio, who have passed.
That's very good.
So
very good.
that's the show itself is in their honor. It's
important that we acknowledge.
I'll say that now, and we're only doing it because it's fitting to do, but I am unhappy with the fact that we have to do this, because when we have people alive like King Reality, we need to honor them now when they can see and be at the show and be there to receive the accolade. Not Hero is not here now, radio is not here now. We are doing it because we see it fitting to do, but I am saying I don't want this to continue. I want maybe next year we say, okay, we have maybe yourself and Reality, because you guys have made stalwart contribution. You might be very modest and say, look, it's okay, but we need to. Arrow made contribution. There's not even a street in Montserrat under the name of Arrow. Not even a road. I mean, it cannot continue. So we need to know that we honor these legends when they're alive. I'm just putting in that 2 cents, so you could continue.
So, one of the things I wanted to mention, I grew up with the best of both worlds. As I mentioned, being able to watch Reality and Fisher and these guys rehearse by Church Wall in St. John's, that for me was so impactful that I didn't even realize it until much later. I remember when I went to radio once and told him that I wanted to sing Calypso because I wanted to be like him, Black Prince and Fisher. And he said to me, if that's all you want, you're not going to amount to much. And I was very distraught, man. I couldn't understand why he didn't encourage me. But much later, he came back to me and said, if you're serious, you have to learn to sing, write your own songs, play at least 3 musical instruments, and learn to arrange your own music and produce them. And I thought to myself then, that is not a requirement for singing Calypso.
It was radio's requirement.
But it was his requirement for me.
Yeah.
And of course, looking back now, I realize what he was doing for me.
Well, what he told you allowed you to help and to contribute to the art form in an immense way right here in Montserrat.
The first time I learned to play keyboard, I came back to Montserrat. I think it was around about 1987 after, going off to England. First time I came back and I had a little Casio keyboard with me. And I was so excited to show him that I had fulfilled one of his requirements, And he said, well, you could really play, man. And, I sang one of his songs while I was playing. And I said to him, by the way, I also arrange music. And he looked at me, man, with a sense of, proud, man. Contentment, absolutely. And, the standard set for me by him and Fisher has never been low. Because any song that I write, I have to run it by Fisher.
Well,
and if it's stupid as Fisher can tell you, you're going with and dance.
Let's just say good afternoon to the man Fisher, because he's listening to radio. He listens every day. So let's say good afternoon.
Yeah, man. So, I know you have to big him up. You have to big him up.
King
So, I was very fortunate going up. Even when I started recording in London, when I recorded my first album in London, I had Falcon standing up in the booth. And every time I started to sing, he would interrupt, come inside and say, no, you need to sing it this way. You need to change that. You need to change that. That was so valuable to me. And perhaps a lot of these guys around here may have not benefited from having that sort of mentorship. But I was very fortunate in the sense that I had guys like Reality, Falcon.
In terms of the festival committee itself, what do you think they need to do to propel Calypso on a higher level, or the art form on a higher level? What do you think they need to do in terms of maybe remuneration for Calypsonians, getting organizations set up, whatever you think that from the organization standpoint, how they need to enhance Calypso?
I don't think it's so much up to the organization standpoint. I think Calypso and Montserrat, in some ways, have failed to evolve. And it has failed to evolve, perhaps because of the lack of creativity. Mm-hmm. And perhaps the welcomeness for creativity as it relates to the judging of Calypso. Mm-hmm. That has its shortcomings in many ways, because I find that the Calypso judging in Montserrat seems to embrace more of the parochial topics, mm-hmm. You know, the local issues, mm-hmm. the politics, mm-hmm. and there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong.
No.
But there has to be that willingness to embrace more creative aspects of Calypso.
Okay, for your reality.
I think, go ahead, reality.
And you're so correct with that. But there is one thing that we have to understand, and I was never one person to question judging. And my reason is that all of us are inherently biased, right? And now...
And that's a discussion we had the other night.
Right. All of us are inherently biased. And you cannot blame the judges for being like that, because all of us are like that. Mm-hmm. What I think that the problem is that proper education about certain aspects of music and writing will make a judge see clearly that even though I prefer this song, that song is better. Not because I prefer this song, it's the best song. You have to be able to see beyond that, because I have my preferences. Mm-hmm. When I went to the band house this year, and I listened to that guy, Ras Alpha song, Come We Go Down. Something about the song, I like it. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But if I were judging that, to say that because I like that song, I'm going to say it's the best song. No.
Okay, let me ask this question now for you and Prince, and I want both of you to give me an answer. It has been said that Montserratians, or music from Montserrat, we have never exceeded beyond Montserrat borders. Mm-hmm. Apart from Falcon, yourself, Reality, and maybe Arrow.
Ivan
Brown. That's 4. Even all the other artists who have even sold CDs outside of Montserrat. Mm-hmm. We have never really made it big. I mean, you sold records for years, everybody know. You go Antigua, you know, record shop, you get a Reality record. You go anywhere, you get an Arrow record. Apart from them, and Falcon as well, it's like you had a formula at the time. Those times you were producing music for the international market. I went into a show in England some time ago, and a guy was playing on his set, and he was saying that Montserrat people don't produce music that appeal to the international market. It's just local, for local consumption.
And that goes back to my point of the lack of evolution in Calypso in Montserrat. The way we approach writing. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I want to make a correction. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the intellect of the judges.
Right.
I want to make that point clear. What I'm saying is the understanding for the purpose of creativity. And what I mean by that is, for instance, we judge Calypso in a way here that's focused on the local issues. And when you give somebody you allow somebody to become king, and perhaps allowed is not the right word.
Right.
But then you take that same person now who has to go outside of Montserrat to represent Montserrat in a competition. How is that person prepared beyond the borders of Montserrat to be successful?
Right, and I mean...
And a lot plays into that, which we tend to ignore when we are looking.
So the Calypso that wins the monarch in Montserrat, the person who gets the monarch in Montserrat, with 2 Calypsos, those songs should be of a standard and quality.
There must be.
That will allow him to compete representing Montserrat overseas.
There must be.
Well, I will put in and say this. When I heard Silk as a young man start singing, I said, wow, here's another international artist from the way he sang.
Right.
He did not
I
sound
agree
like
with
a
you.
local artist,
I
sound
agree
like
with
an international artist. But because of the stigma of just trying to be local and trying to having to compete in this arena has kept him shut into that. Because in order to win the competition, this is what he has.
You have to conform,
you have to conform
to
a certain thing.
That's
so
right.
I'm
I
saying
agree.
the reason why these young people are not bursting out is not because of the talent. Because I will tell you right now, talent-wise, I would put Montserrat
100%.
Atop.
I agree with you.
talent-wise. The problem is the structuring of this competition that is keeping these young artists bound.
Okay, let's talk about the structuring of the competition in a minute. Let's take a time and play this one. It happened to be your first song? That is the man, Everton Reality Weekes, that we are now in conversation with, along with Eddie Prinzy Duberry, and we're just chit-chatting about Calypso. Right here in Montserrat, Woman Come to Jam. This is one of the first songs he said that he had the privilege of composing. And yep, just looking at this document, just looking at this paper that I'm reading from, I noticed that people who I know would have wanted to join the competition, who have songs that would fit the Soca Monarch competition, someone like Dado would have been singing a song called, Give Me More Dado. Just got the information that the rules has now changed, and because he's doing that song in the national competition, he would not be able to do that one in the Soca Monarch. In the Soca Monarch, you need to do a different song than you're doing in the national competition. Guys, what do you think about that?
Well, go ahead, Reality. You address that first.
No, you take it. Well, this is a touchy subject because there is value on both sides of the argument. Like this year, I know more than one person that suffered because of that, because Dado's song is very, very popular. And I know that King Natty was very upset because he had his song all prepared. When he found out that he had to go back and write something else. You understand? So he had to make a switch. So, and he didn't even know in time. So I know he had to go and rush and try to do something else. And I'm saying, even though that I don't agree 100%, I can see why they would make that change, because if you're gonna have a competition, the Calypso competition, and then you're gonna have the Soca competition, if it's gonna be the same song you're singing, some people might say, well, I don't need to come to the Soca competition because I'm gonna hear that tomorrow night in the Calypso competition also.
Right.
So I guess they want to build the Soca competition as a separate entity and try to create a stronger competition in that area and a strong competition in the Calypso separate. You don't want to have them doing the same material because it might suffer in terms of audience participation.
I've got a question, just an introduction. Prince, you're coming next, but has this been happening in any other islands across the Caribbean? Antigua, St. Kitts, Trinidad? I remember, just out of my memory, I remember back in the 80s that David Rudder won the crown and he came out with a song, Bim Bilim Bim Baby Bilim and Bahaya Girl. And that is the song he did to win the Calypso crown. He also did that for the Soca and the Road March, and he won them. But so I'm just saying, then, is this the trend, or is this Montserrat is taking on a new trend?
Well,
okay, address that, because I think I will give you a good answer for that.
All right. I mean, go ahead, Prince.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is, if you look at the years gone by, Montserrat has actually been doing that. So it's not like they never did that. But what they're saying is that they're going to make a change. And if you notice, in places like Antigua, and I know the artists in Antigua do not sing the same song in the Soca competition.
Okay.
If you come and some of them try to do it, they get eliminated because Soca is Soca and Calypso, and I think that both art forms will hurt if you keep trying to cross it, because when I listened to the Soca competition last night, if you ask me, and I would have it wasn't the competition, some of the artists that enter, if you ask me what the only criticism that I would have is that some of the songs do sound like Calypso rather than Soca. Mm-hmm. And Soca is a more free-flowing thing.
So are you saying that there should be somewhat of a distinct boundary within Soca and Calypso, like for competition-wise?
Yes, I believe that.
Okay.
Because
Prince,
yes.
Let me hear Prince.
So a couple of things to bear in mind. Going back to when David Rudder competed in the Calypso competition with Bahia Girl and also entered, the categories back then were not as clear. Okay. Because if you can recall, particularly here in Montserrat, you had a slow round and a fast round.
Yeah.
And typically, the faster songs, which Reality used to dominate a lot of the times,
Masquerade,
were songs that would become road march and could easily be considered soca songs back then.
Yeah.
Because the actual categories were not as
Defined.
Yeah, soca is a lot more
as it is
defined now.
now.
Soca is a lot more defined now.
Soca is no more defined. And the whole thing has changed from how it used to be back in the day where you had a fast round and a slow round. People now are singing 2 slow songs now for Calypso. Now, what I find here, if we're going to stick to Montserrat, over the years, what I've seen is calypsonians, simply because they have a song, just want to just go into the soca competition just for the fun of it.
So it might be a good thing then.
To Reality's point.
So for Reality's point, it might be a good thing that we have a different rule for Calypso and a different rule for soca. So therefore, if you're entering the Calypso competition with 2 songs, those 2 songs, even if it's a soca song that you're singing in a Calypso competition as your second song, you should not be able to sing it.
As
in the
But
soca
wait a minute. Trevor Castle and I were talking about that last night. In fact, we spoke about that today. And if that was me who had that song that Dado has, I mean, and this is strictly based on experience, and Reality would agree with me, I would have changed up certain things within the song and meet the criteria for the Soca Monarch show.
But the song would have changed, you would have changed the topic as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well.
It's a bit too late for Dado too.
You understand what I'm saying? You have to be smart with these things sometimes.
Yeah.
But the song can, if he had the experience and the time, it could have met the criteria.
We can make the change and make the song enough viable for that competition.
Yeah.
I agree.
So on a whole, based on what you guys have just mentioned and the lessons that you're telling me, you're teaching me now, I believe that maybe the festival committee is right to have a distinction between the soca competition and the Calypso competition.
If we want the art form, be it Calypso or soca, to evolve in Montserrat, to really meet the international standard so that the artists themselves can grow, we have to set these the sort of criteria.
I totally agree.
And also, just as you mentioned before, it will prevent people from just bringing any old song into the soca competition, because soca is a different standard now. So you can't just go and write a calypso and expect, okay, since I have a calypso, I'm going to enter the soca competition.
No, since I have a song, not a calypso.
Since you have a song.
No, let me ask this question then, and just do the reverse. In the Calypso competition for the eliminations, I listen to what I call certain kind of songs. I would not give them that description that I wanted to say, but certain kind of songs. Now, those are not calypso. Sometimes they're reggae. It's for a totally different genre. They're reggae, they're soca, they're whatever, and you're bringing it into a calypso competition. Should they be eliminated at the band house and not being part of the calypso competition? Because we have to have a clear definition of what the calypso requirements are. What do you say?
Go ahead, Reality.
Well, that's a touchy subject.
Well, it's the same thing about soca.
The reason
if they don't meet the proper compliance with writing and everything for the soca, they can't enter the soca.
Okay.
So why would they enter the calypso?
The reason why I'm going to say it's a touchy subject, I can recall the first year that Cepeke won the crown. He did a song, I think his song was, I want somebody to hold on to.
Yeah.
Keep holding on.
Yeah, I know that song.
Now, I was at the band house when he went to the band house with this song. And because this song was written so different, it did not sound like a calypso. And the band was trying to play the song, and the song sound like, what is that? And he was trying to get the song across to the musician, and I remember one of the musicians in Popular was like, oh, what kind of song is that? That no, calypso, you know? And what I am saying, if we start to do that, you see, I went outside and I said to him, look, any song can be a calypso if you want it to be a calypso. So don't listen to those guys. Not because that your idea is different. It's a different idea, but it is a calypso. they just have to understand that it's not every melody gonna be the same. And even if you go a certain way, don't, because they hear it as a reggae, don't play it as a reggae. So most of the time, what is going on there is not the writer's fault or the person who have the idea.
Can I just say something quickly?
Yes.
You remember that year that you and I were judging? We were sitting right next to each other, and the girl from St. Kitts sang that song, and we looked at each other. And we said, the judges, these other guys are not going to get it.
Right.
But we understood what was going on.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because, you know.
There was a Calypso from St. Kitts?
Yes, but
she was just different.
Different.
And Reality and I immediately looked at each other and said, look.
Wow, we love that.
We love it.
You see, because
but only we would get it.
When somebody. Therefore, maybe she was marked down. I'm not saying maybe. I'm not saying yes. She was. I'm saying
the
maybe,
other judges would have just
disregarded
it and said, "Oh, that's not Calypso."
Because they don't know.
So essentially, what I'm telling you here is that the musicians, the arrangers, all of these people who are working with the art form have to love the art form enough to understand what's going on. And Black Prince is one of the people I have to mention, because what he brought to Calypso was different from what everybody else was presenting. And you remember Olamo, the great man is here, Cecil Lake himself. You remember the song Olamo?
Of course.
Would you say it was a Calypso?
I believe it was a Calypso.
But listen to that song, and that song is a transcendental song. It's not like any other song that you have ever heard. Listen to it. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes a lot of people come into the band house with a song and it could get thrown aside because it is more creative than the other songs, and the musicians don't understand well what the writer had in mind. And Cecil Lake is right here, just mentioned when he did that song in the band house, and his song that he won the crown with, if you heard this song before, you would not have said, "Here is a Calypso." You remember the melody, Cecil, right?
Yeah, I remember everything.
You remember it?
I remember everything.
Talk.
Yeah.
Can I join in?
Yes,
Of course you can. You don't need to ask.
I've been to several workshops already, right? And sometimes I wish I did walk with my bullbud to put some licks in some people when they're talking about what is Calypso and what is not Calypso, or whatever it is. You have genres of music, and I keep telling people a genre of music is defined by the beat, not the lyrics,
the soul,
not the melody. If you were to take Carpenters, I'm on top of the world, I'm looking down on creation. Mm-hmm. The original is a country and western. Mm-hmm. Take Elimat's version of it. He calypsoized it. He put a calypso beat to it. Mm-hmm. So what you want to tell me that is not Calypso?
That is Calypso.
Exactly. Yeah. Right? So all this thing about, if you hear a song, and the song says, I'm walking down the road today, and it is a lovely day. What is that? Reality, what is that? Prince. No, Prince, what is this? We're musicians, what is this? What beat is that? What is this, guys? What is it? What beat is that? Could be blues, could be soul, and it. Every genre of music, as I keep telling people, right? And in this workshop with this Trinidad, this couple of years ago with this Trinidadian guy, when he asked this question, everybody come up with kind of thing. He said, "You're absolutely correct. What is reggae? It's the beat. You have bachata, you have salsa. It's the beat that determines what genre of music. It's not the melody and it's not the words. If you were to take Hot at Hot, for example, right? I put a different beat with what the white guy named that did Arrows or that did Dexter Pointed. He did it with their in his own unique way. Took the soca away from it. With the funk. Okay, thank you very much.
Can I go ahead. I agree with you in certain sense, but you can still take a beat, because a beat is simply a beat, right? You can still use that same beat which you were just demonstrating just now, and put a calypso melody to it, exactly, and still make it work. But you have to have people who understand that, because over the years, and this is something I'll confess, over the years I've used R&B chords to create
Exactly.
Calypso songs. I'm not going to tell people which song, but Georgia from Ray Charles.
Exactly.
I've used that melody to create Calypso songs.
Same song. You see, and this is where you have the fusion. And this is where you have a fusion now coming in.
Can I join in quickly?
Yeah, of course you can. You can. Don't go into Cepeke. Don't get.
Now, you guys talk of the beat and you talk of the chords, right? But my belief is slightly different. For me, it's a culture. Calypso is a culture. Because what I'm saying is that if you know the culture that you're dealing with, right? If you take a person that is a monstration, a born monstration, he moves a certain way. He have a certain rhythm. He have a certain style. He speaks a certain way. He understands music a certain way. So any song to him, if you give him a song to sing, it's going to come out with that feeling. So if I go to sing, if you ask me to sing R&B now, I can't sing no R&B. I grew up singing Calypso, and that is what I can sing.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say, I understand what you're trying to say. I wouldn't necessarily say that Calypso is a culture.
It is, though.
Part of Calypso is a culture.
No, it is a culture.
Calypso, in its entirety, is not actually a culture.
It is.
And I tell you why.
Okay, tell me.
Because if you're saying Calypso is a culture, and you don't speak like a monstration, you don't sound like a monstration,
no, you don't.
Are you saying then that you can't?
No. If you know the culture, if you know, I'm going to give you a very good example. And
Try.
When I started to play reggae music, right? Now, I was in Montserrat playing reggae all my life, not realizing I can't play reggae. Because in Montserrat we're playing reggae, and for us reggae is just going chung, chung, you're playing and you're reggae and you sing do, and we're doing reggae. And I'm saying I'm playing reggae. Till I met the bass player for Maxi Priest. We were both living in Connecticut and we hooked up. And he had a keyboard player and he was looking for a guitar player. I just moved to Connecticut. So I said, I play guitar. So I come and I started playing guitar. But then one day I went on the keyboard. He realized I could play keyboard better than the one who was playing keyboard. So he's telling me, no, we want you to play keyboard. You're good on the guitar, but thing. So I go on the keyboard and I'm playing reggae. And I'm playing correctly. Thing. And the man said, no, youth man, no, so you go. I said, what do you mean, no, so you go? How else you go? And he played and showed me how we go. I said, look at you.
But then reality is different.
And I'm telling you, anybody who come out the culture in Jamaica could play reggae better and even make me a better musician. There was a guy, Andy Max, he couldn't even hardly play an instrument. And when he pick up the guitar and he strum it, I'm saying, sure, the man, they just born in the culture and them blood. The culture is them. And so what I'm saying, you could take anything, I could take any song and sing it in Calypso. Any song. Because that's my culture.
It's in you. Okay, go ahead, Prince.
Okay, so not disagreeing with what you're saying, but how then do you correspond that to reading music? Because what you've described there just now to me is the feel, Calypso as a feeling and reggae as a feeling. Because I give you an example. I remember one time I was playing with some Hans guy. One of them played with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. I think the guy used to play with Arrow. What's his name? Simon. Trombone player.
Yeah, the trombone player. Yes.
And I hired them to play for a gig we were having. And we were playing a song there by Swallow, I think. Whining. There was a part in there. We were ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. But when they were reading the music, they were playing ba-da-da, ba-da-da. They were playing on the note, right? Because they didn't have the feel, right? So you understand what I'm saying?
I'm glad you mentioned that because them very same people from a different culture. You know tell me about Calypso? Too staccato, man. Don't. Too twist, too staccato, too fast. It's too. When we call the music staccato,
if you're reading on a Trinidadian,
but
understanding,
right,
it's inherent.
This is right. But this is why Jamaicans feel it's only them who play reggae.
But you cannot
I never
write.
write and the reason for saying that.
You cannot write feeling.
You can't write
You
feeling.
can't
Exactly.
score feeling.
Let's stream it down now. We got a few minutes more. Hold on. I'm glad you're here, Cepeke. First question for you. And we're going back to Calypso now. We talked earlier about the standards and Calypso and everything in Montserrat, how it's evolving, how it have dropped, how it have come back up in the standards and everything, and what we want to do, the involvement from the organization itself, and what we need to do. My final question to all of you is that in order for Calypso and for us to be appealing on an international market, because that is really where every Calypsonian needs to be, that they can reach out not only to the domestic market in Montserrat. How can we see Calypso reaching a standard where we look forward to hearing something on an international scale? How can we build that and reach that standard again?
Who want to go first?
Go ahead.
You first.
Well, everybody throwing me under the bus to answer this one. Okay. Number one, right? One of the things that the writers, the arrangers, the judges, everybody who is involved with our culture, they have a duty to learn more, to understand more, because we live in a changing world where certain things is looked upon by the youths as being old school. And we have to understand that once they have that mentality, the youths, when me and you were young, we had that mentality also. We wasn't looking back on the old things that was old. So what I am saying, education and keeping up with changing times, allowing the youths to express themselves, allow our culture to grow, give them a chance to develop what we have started and not try to hinder their progress. Then you would find that Calypso will...
And not only the progress, the creativity.
The creativity. So Calypso will grow along with the youths also.
It goes back to the whole sentiment of evolving. Calypso has to be allowed, and soca has to be allowed to evolve. A great German music professor once said, to understand music, you must study the principles of music. But to create music, you must totally disregard the principles. Because creativity in itself is creativity. Right? And to reality's point, you have to allow the youths them to give what's in them. Because they see things from a different perspective to where reality is coming from, to where I'm coming from, to where Cepeke is coming from. But all they really need is that guidance. And at the same time, in regards to the
so
whole...
are you saying that in recent times or for the future, we would not be hearing something like, I said a woman on the bass, that kind of nice groovy rhythm?
No.
What we'll be hearing? Something different?
Listen, again, like I said to you, you will be hearing it, but you will be hearing it in a different way. Look at all of these R&B artists. When they go to build music, they still go back to James Brown and all these great artists who sample.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it very simple. Foundation. You have to have a foundation. The foundation must always be there. Based on, because I was...
So Prince is talking about the James Brown. That's the foundation?
No, he alluded to it because I was thinking that you must have a foundation, right? Because even when these Trinidadian bands and the Bajan bands and all these bands jamming on road live, right? Regardless of what you hear in the recordings on radio, that foundation of those beats, they still have them in there. You still hear you still hear calypso rhythm coming through, and they never give it up, right? And this is one of the components in that we have to hold on to, foundation. But at the same time, like both of them said, things have evolved, yes. And Prince mentioned about guidance and this other thing, right? So we have to nurture all these things in order We have to accept too, fusion, eh? Things have been fused. Music has been fused all over the world because people looking to be creative, and they're coming up with all kind of things in order, to be perfect.
But there's one point I would like to add, that we fear change, but one thing that we overlook is that the more things change, the more they remain the same.
Let me just say, hold on, before you end, to understand, Harmon Sergeant and I, we are always discussing Calypso competition, right? And based upon what we just said, I've been listening to Trinidad's Calypso competition since before I was born. And every time I hear the guitar playing, it never changed. Up to this February, when they had the Calypso competition, the same rhythm. Right? The brass may change. The melody may change. You remember Calypso used to be, long time ago, I went down the road. I said long time ago, I went down the road. I see a woman walking on the road, and she carrying a heavy load. Bam, bam, bidim, bam.
Hold on.
Things begin to change.
Hold on, we're having the Salem Pick-on competition. So we have your name on it.
Well, Algie boy, I'm telling you flat. You was DJ in Montserrat.
And
Bumps of reality.
And Cepeke boy, I guess you know that everybody have already said so.
Yeah, that everybody have said so. That these three blokes are the number one in Calypso. Tell them.
That's a bit of pick-on. Look, I remember, folks, we're having the pick-on in Salem on Saturday the 28th. Cepeke have already, he's part of the competition. On
which date?
On the 28th.
Well, the 28th is a Saturday night. And I know somebody got dead with fright.
And I know Cupid won it last year, but right now he's not coming to put up a fight.
Well, let me tell you this, I'll be so busy. So maybe you will not see me. But I think I'm going to be there.
No problem, man.
I think Prince want to put in a line, I feel the energy. I feel the reality. Put in a line, man.
Well, even though me and Prince could write a song, we have no energy for Pikang.
You summed it up for me.
Anyway, guys, look, man, one final thing. For 2025, we intend to see top-notch Calypso in Montserrat. The standard of this year will be even higher. You think that we're now going to reach like a trajectory where we're going just up?
But it's participation and creativity and working hard. If you want to, in a smart way, working hard in a smart way.
Okay.
If you want to achieve anything in life, right? And I think it was mentioned early on. I can remember whatever discipline I was involved in, whether it was football or cricket. They always start in the school. They always start with the youth and always start in the schools. And in anything that we do, you can't leave the youth them behind. Well, they mentioned it, and Prince mentioned it. You got to accept what they're trying to do, help them, guide them, nurture them.
Now, there's one Calypsonian in Montserrat. I'm wondering.
We got 3 more minutes.
Why is he not a star?
Who are we referring to?
What's his name again? He always sing jumpy tune. Eye cultural.
Eye cultural.
No, I just want to know. I mean, somebody like me. Why is he not a star?
Let me address that.
Yes.
From the first time I saw Eye Cultural performed,
Yeah.
you remember that guy, Lil Rick from Barbados?
Yes.
He's not much different to Eye Cultural.
Yeah. I always wonder why is he not a star? Because he have so much to offer the culture.
He's got energy. He's got a lot of energy too.
He lively up the festival. I don't know.
I agree with you.
How is he not a star? I don't get it.
Because we don't view him in the same way that
I think they have,
if Eye Cultural wasn't perhaps in Trinidad or Barbados or one else, he would have been a star.
I think they put him in a box and
Fisher and I addressed that. Fisher and I spoke about that all the time.
Look, we have now come to the end of what has been a really fruitful, what you say, Cepeke? A really fruitful discussion.
I think that we should have discussions like this more often, rather than wait until every 25th moon has passed.
I try to call a Calypso connoisseur.
A certain pace bowler?
This pace bowler. And so go to the mic and say good afternoon to Montserrat, man. You just reached.
Good afternoon, Montserrat, and to all Montserratians wherever you are. I'm here in the studio with some legends, and when I say legends, I mean legend.
You have two legends in the studio.
The strictest sense of the word.
Two of them. See the two of them there.
We have the great Everton Reality Weekes, and we have Prince, and of course, I want to be calypsonian.
Boy, Prince will tell you. Prince will tell you get out of that. Prince will tell you get out of that. What you're talking about.
Actually, one quick thing though, I must say, I think we have a tendency of knocking down people in terms of when they're, trying to harness their talent, especially when folks are making an attempt maybe to write their own songs or whatever. And we have a way of destroying them critically. Mm-hmm. And that tends to make them shy away. I think in our criticism, I think we should not be that harsh.
We should be constructive.
Constructive, that's the word we're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. Right? In order to help them along. Because lots of people have come to me, asking me to write them songs and stuff like that. And, when they say bring stuff to me, I tell them, okay, it's a good attempt. I never try and tell them you're singing nonsense. But let's do it this way. This would help you if we go about it this way. If we instead of doing that, let's do this. Reality did that to me. Reality did it. I was 14 years old. 13, 14 years old.
And did you pay your dues?
Reality and...
No, hold on. It was 1977 and it was outside the secondary school. You used to go by arrow to work.
Hold on, 97. And there was this neem tree that we used to sit under.
Yeah.
And he had a guitar. And I said, show me how to play guitar. And to this day, he still shows me one chord. C. That's why you hold a stick. And I said, that's it. And I had to figure out the rest. Yeah. So to say, this is how long we've been together.
Yeah.
We've been
that's good.
19.
That's good.
So I had to correct him the other day when he couldn't remember when he sang I Come.
Talking about I Come.
But sorry. This man know all of my songs better than me, because he was young, and when I won the crown with my first song, he was a little boy. I come and I asked him. I played this song for him and said, "But what do you think about this song?"
The same song
paved the way.
The same song.
And he even sang the song wrong,
The same song.
The
same song I Come is one of the greatest songs that Reality have ever done. Right. As a matter of fact, in my mind, it's one of the greatest Calypso ever penned in Montserrat.
Fantastic. And just to show the connection that all of us have here. It was I can't remember the date, Prince. It was in England when I showed up at your flat, and I said, let's do a medley.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you remember?
Yes,
and you were like, at this time, I said, look, you're coming back in 2 hours. I'm ready for you. And that was a fantastic night and fantastic session that we had. In terms of us, being connected musically, and there's so much that we could do.
You see, somebody mentioned here, and I'm quitting now in the next 30 seconds, but somebody mentioned just a while ago that Montserrat, I think it was Reality who said that Montserrat, he will put Montserrat on top when it comes to talent. Yes. Right? What we need is the togetherness. Let's build a cohesive unit and work together. If you know what can come out for a festival Village Calypso, or an annual festival Calypso Soca, all of us can come together enough. Many people have different skills and talent sets and whatever. If we work together collectively, Reality, Prince, yourself, all of us, when we see a production, we can market that for Montserrat. What you say?
Well, I agree, because in many discussions, even before the great Nestor passed, that's Hero, Justin, when we sitting down at night discussing music, both of us asked us the same question. What has gone wrong with our music, boy? We were once on top. He used to say all a lot. Cecil Cepeke, but we were on top. We were on top.
And let me cut in there. That is because Montserrat was the breeding ground for music.
That is true.
And now we are looking outside. We have to look at who we are and go back to who we are, and we will go right back on top, because Montserrat has the breeding ground and the ability to produce great music.
Is the very same thing I can say for this radio station, ZJB? Did you know that ZJB is the first radio station in the Caribbean? Very first one in the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's carved in history.
It's
It's
in
correct,
history.
yes.
And in Montserrat, the first radio station was in Alveston House, in Salem, right? But I'm not talking about the Salem part of it now. I'm talking about the breeding ground and who have come from here. I'm not only talking about myself, Cepeke. I'm talking about the Mike Jarvises, the Andy Lawrences, who have come, the guy from Barbados, what his name is there, the newsreader there.
Yeah, Rogers. Yeah.
And Radio Montserrat have produced JJP, Kevin West. They came here knowing nothing. But this Radio Montserrat here is just like Calypso, let's say music, is the breeding ground for many outstanding broadcasters who have come here, nurtured themselves and be what they are today.
It's just like that. There was once I was giving away a $20 credit or $50 credit. I think the question asked who was the Montserrat's first recording artist. And people never knew. Reality mentioned it. Spoke to Ivan Brown. Ivan Brown. You understand what I'm saying? So to top it all off, we have talent. We have galore.
Unlimited. Look, guys, go and say your final thing, man. Thanks a lot for coming. Thanks a lot for joining me. Thanks a lot for joining me, man. I think it's
a pleasure, man.
Kenny B will be on next, I think. Yeah, he will be coming in next. So Prince, thanks a lot for coming, man.
My pleasure.
Welcome home.
Thank you, sir.
Home.
Look forward to seeing you.
Let me hear your voice again, man. Say thanks to the people.
Well, thank you.
Where you going?
Thank you for inviting us, Algie, and thanks to the people of Montserrat. And don't worry, our culture is going to rise back up right to the top.
Like a phoenix.
High as can be.
Like a phoenix. Come on, Cepeke. Let me wrap you up, please.
Well, we're going to rock you from a Montserrat point of
view. Thanks a million, buddy. Mr. Hyman? Yes. Come and say hello, man. Say hello.
Yes, it felt good just even coming in late and to be part of history. Having the likes of King Reality Weekes and Prince Cecil Lake yourself is just a wealth of talent that we just need to.
Thanks a million, man.
Yes, because we are a people of excellence.
Hey, folks, I love this one. In my mind, it's one of the greatest songs ever penned in the Emerald Isle. Everton Reality Weekes are come. Folks, until next time, it's more time. This is Daddy Al, Boxing Day G. Checking out, man. One love, Jagide, man gone.